Okay, so I am sitting down with the filmmaker and cast of Escape from Tomorrow. It's very nice to meet you all. I've only heard about you in kind of mythology, this movie in mythology.
We are not mythical people.
No, we are here.
Have you seen it?
I've seen the film.
Oh, good.
It's definitely something I'm going to be even returning to at the end of the year, just to mention in film. So I'm sure everyone kind of in the film industry, movie business, knows about this movie. For the people that don't know what exactly this movie is and are enticed just by this poster, could you explain a little about what this film is?
Yeah.
It's like an all-American family goes on vacation and then they step into an episode of The Twilight Zone and everything goes horribly awry.
I can say, for me, at least to me, it's, on the surface it's about a man who loses his job and on his last day of vacation becomes obsessed with two girls he sees on the monorail at a theme park. But kind of underneath that, it's about, I think, this compulsion we all share to be happy all the time, and sort of the fallout that results from that, obsession, especially domestic fallout.
I'd love to talk about the production of this. Obviously, I don't want to go too far into it just because I think some of the magic behind this movie is just people leaving the theater wondering how did they do that. But could you talk about, just in a production sense, you shot this movie guerrilla style on a camera similar to the one I'm using right here, just a regular handheld camera. What was the crew like? You had your actors and yourself. Who else was a part of the crew?
We had a cinematographer and assistant camera. So, and then we had a assistant director who did all of our scheduling, which was vital to just getting all of our shots, in the limited time we had. And then we also had usually a water boy or two, because water's $1,000 a bottle inside the park. And in addition to that, we would have the parents usually of the children, not usually, always of the children, along with us too. So the actors, myself, assistant director, camera department, and water.
But like spread out, not like all clumped together.
Sometimes clumped. I mean, the thing is, there are groups of people that go to Disney, as a group, and even wear matching shirts and matching red Crocs, So we weren't, by far the weirdest looking group around.
I would love to talk about Sundance, just that whole experience. So, not a lot of people, I would probably say no one knew what the film was about when you had when the film was entered into the festival. It plays. What happens right after that?
It was a hit.
It was.
Roger Ebert tweeted, he was, bless his heart, he was still alive at this time, and he's like, one of the most buzzed about films in Sundance. And we're like, what?
Yeah, it took a lot of people by surprise, which was great. And I think all of us are happy that the film has this notoriety, and and the hype will hopefully bring people out to see it who normally wouldn't. But it was by far the most exciting part of it for me was when everyone went into it knowing nothing at all about it, and then all of a sudden it just it blew up. And the tweets that followed were hysterical, because everyone sort of was playing armchair lawyer and didn't know the legal ramifications of what we had done. So there was one reviewer who wrote that, like, sure enough, right now Disney is sending an army of lawyers on helicopters to Park City, and they will be rappelling into the festival. So it was great. It got a really good reaction. I mean, an amazing reaction. We weren't quite sure if we would get a second screening out of it. We had initially 5 screenings set up. We got all 5 of them, and they added an additional press and industry screening. So, we couldn't have asked for anything more from Sundance. And props to Sundance for programming it. It was really brave on their part. They have a lot of corporate sponsors, and it would have been very easy for them to just pass on the film. And I didn't know anyone at Sundance when I submitted the film. I didn't know any of the programmers or really anyone there. I just made a copy of the DVD on my laptop and
I
emailed
love
it in blind with all the other submissions, which is like 10,000 submissions they get every year. So I was just floored when I got a call from Trevor Groth, the programmer at Sundance, saying that we had been accepted into the next category there, and then it was just let's just get that first screening.
And then I was just as proud to get into Ebert Fest, Roger Ebert, because he only picks 12 films a year. And some are not, and they're not all new films. Some, like one was Bernie, one was a Tilda Swinton film called Julia, some are The Days of Heaven from the 70s. I mean, he picked films that were close to his heart, and to pick ours, I was just, and that was in a beautiful 1,400 seat theater in Champaign, Illinois.
1,700.
It was 1,700? I thought it was 1,400, really?
Not feet, people.
I mean. Oh, okay. It's 1,700.
I remember reading, I think it must have been the next morning when I read just on the blogs and on the internet when this movie came out, hearing just what this movie was, and then feeling so almost sad that I thought I would never be able to see it. I was like, it sounds like such an amazing movie. It's so sad that I know that I'm never going to be able to see it. But, here we are, and the movie has found distribution. Did you ever think about this movie possibly never seeing the light of day?
Absolutely.
Every day.
Every single day. I thought, the chances are that this movie might play a few small, minor film festivals for a little while, and then it's going to be me driving around in a van, showing it, in underground locations with, a tip jar asking for donations, to anyone who responded to the film. I really thought that was what might happen, but when we got into Sundance, John Sloss became our sales agent through Cinetic, and then he just took it to the next level, and he found a way to take us to where we are now, and now we're like a week away from distribution. It's amazing.
And I think it helps too that it's really beautifully shot by Lucas Lee Graham, and it has a gorgeous score with
Pavel Korzanovsky.
Yeah, and he's been nominated for Golden Globe, so I think that helps to take the picture to a whole nother level, having it look good and sound good.
Were there any edits that you had to do from Sundance to now? Any drastic changes that needed to be made?
No, most of the edits
that you could tell us.
Most of the edits were editorial. Because by the time we played it at Sundance, the picture had been locked for quite some time. So there were a lot of moments that kind of felt like they were running long, which if we had the opportunity, we would have loved to have opened up the film and gone and changed. And we did get the opportunity after Sundance. So basically, the difference between the cut that's coming out now and the one we played at Sundance, besides just the heads and tails of people walking in and out of scenes being shortened, is there's a disclaimer at the beginning. We blacked out a label of a popular brand of
and I re-looped it.
Ointment that people use to heal wounds with, and then we actually added a scene that we had shot, but we just never figured out how to make it work in the Sundance version to sort of drive home that this is a parody and not a documentary about this family.
Make it a little more fantastical.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's I don't know how many minutes, or do you know?
We cut 14 minutes from the Sundance.
Favorite Disneyland ride? Which one is that?
You know what I love? I love Soarin'. Oh, well, that's not Disneyland, is it? It's Disney.
Okay.
It's Disney World.
the escape version.
No. I just like, I like that. I like the feeling of it. There's a dreamlike quality to that ride, Soarin' in Disney World, that I love, where you're flying over stuff.
I am a big scaredy cat, and anything really, really fast really freaks me out. So just give me the boat that goes through the big giant whale mouth, and I'll be happy with that.
And this in Storyland? Is that
yeah,
a really
that's
slow one?
as slow as it can get. That's my favorite. This was actually the scene on the teacups. Was the first time I'd ever ridden the teacups, because I was too freaked out, and the sweet little daughter was having the time of her life and trying to speed it up, and I was like, don't speed it up. Real squeals. Those are my real squeals.
Favorite ride?
I think I like Spaceship Earth at Epcot, inside the geodesic sphere. I've always liked that since I was a kid. So.
Randy, Elena, Roy, thank you so much for sitting down with me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Ryan.
much.
Yeah.